Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody has had a great week to this point. I hope that the goals that you set for yourself, you're finding yourself moving towards them, that you can see the progress, that you can feel the movement, that you're experiencing momentum. But even in a time where it seems like nothing's working, where it seems like you may even be taking steps backward, I want to encourage you. If you're still breathing, you're still in the fight, and that life is a continuum on which we live. And what I mean by that, that's this constant tension in life, and that it's pulling back and forth. And when you're moving in the right direction, you will have more steps forward than you will backwards. But sometimes you're going to move forward, and then there are going to be those moments where you experience setbacks. It's life. Nobody escapes it. Nobody gets around it. Nobody has the perfect formula for circumventing the struggles and the challenges and the vicissitudes of life. They are coming. The people who win and get on in this world are the ones who engage the challenges and respond to them most positively, respond to them with the greatest level of expectations, with the highest standard of ethics, morality, uh, and force. You're not going to win every battle, but the goal is to stand up and push forward, and so that you see the progress over time. So again, I am encouraging you that no matter where you are right now, that you stand up, that you focus, that you move forward. Real briefly, before I get into this moment of transparency that I want to share with you. I think it's important that people in certain situations, positions, pastors, leaders, teachers, business owners, people who consider themselves content creators and influencers, anybody who has people who are paying attention to you, it's important to be transparent. It doesn't mean you give everybody your business or you give them intimate details about your business, but they need to see the humanity in you. They need to see the fallibility in you. They need to see that you can achieve certain things and not have achieved perfection. So I'm going to share that with you, but I want to remind you real quickly, if you look in the description box, that this Saturday we are going to be having the Crushing Limiting Beliefs event. If you want to know what it is, why you should be there, the information is in the description box. I will tell you this. I will be probably for one of the last times, because I had a meeting with the advertising uh, arm, and marketing, and um, my guys are actually in the UK, and they're looking at me like, "What are you doing over there?" And I'm like, "Hey man, I'm say we need to really reel in if we're going to hit our goals, and we have some pretty massive goals, and we're doing great, but we have a long way to go, and they need me to calm down." So this may be the last time that I'm going to be giving away a $10,500 package. It may be the last time, or approaching the last time, that that package is actually 10,500. We're doing some things, um, and it is for the best of everything, especially the goals that I have for me and my family. But I just want to tell you, look in there. I'm going to be giving that away. I'm also going to be giving the people who don't win. I'm giving one of those away, and everybody else will be gifted two $350 follow-up sessions. So that's a $700 value. Just that alone makes all of this worth it. But if you want to tackle one of the biggest influences on procrastinating, that's limiting beliefs, you want to be at this event. And I'm going to leave it at that. You can read it, you can click it. There's enough information. You follow the link, is going to tell you much more about it and get you to where you can enroll if you desire to be there. So let's talk. Um, there are more than you would imagine, because I never present myself as being perfect. I never present myself as having all the answers. I never present myself as this person who has it all figured out. But you would be surprised how many people approach me and think I've had this uh, golden child type life where everything just lies down for me. Everything just flows for me. Everything just comes into focus, and things happened for me. And I can tell you, it couldn't be further from the truth. I can tell you that I've had a challenging childhood, not as challenging as some, um, you know. But what I can tell you is that, just some things that I can share. I was the first of five children to a 15-year-old mother, um, who had a father who I never met, who I then met numerous siblings. Uh, and I wouldn't be surprised if I were to actually meet more. Never knew him. First time I saw him was at his funeral. We haven't even gotten out of my childhood. And there are a bunch of other things that, I went through as a child where I may not have even been here. I was that sick at one point from malnutrition until my great grandparents took me at 9 months and adopted and reared me. Uh, then, just growing up in the inner city where there was a lot of violence, I saw death quite a bit. I saw a great deal of poverty, even though my grandmother and grandfather, took care of that household. I never saw the lights off, never saw utilities off. Home was paid for. And so I never experienced it in myself in that area, but I saw it the moment I walked out of my yard. Absolute poverty. Kids may not have a pair of shoes. So I saw all of that, and then I had to find a way to come out of it. I had to make up my mind that I was coming out of that, and I had options. I had my athleticism. I had my mind, which was sharp. And uh, there's something about this part I want to get to because people talk about, well, you know, intellectually this, intellectually that. Let me tell you something. Over the course of my life, I've seen nothing but brilliance. I've seen it in children. I see it in children. I see it in my clients, my young clients, young people struggling with depression, young people struggling with suicidal ideation. I see brilliance. I see that. The difference is who's stroking and fanning the flames, who has ignited something within them and acknowledged it. I'm going to tell you something. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has something special about them that gives them a place in this world. The problem is very few people are looking for the gift. Everybody's trying to fit in. Everybody's trying to be what everybody else is. Everybody's trying to do what the next person is doing, and nobody is searching the gift, and nobody is looking for the gift. They're definitely not looking for the gift in the school. The school is designed to make everybody trainable, everybody teachable, everybody prepared for employment to work in a world that will utilize your skills, your gifts and your skills and reward you what they feel they can reward you and get away with. That's the way the system is set up. And we have to do what we have to do because there are, responsibilities. And so we never search, we get used to it, we fall into it. And so people say, well, you have this and you were able. Let me tell you something. My life has been full of challenges. At 25, the only man I knew as a father, my great grandfather, passed away, left me with the responsibility of taking the lead role because my grandmother began to look to me. My younger siblings began to look to me. My wife at the time was like, what are you going to do? Um, And so I had to find within myself the wherewithal to stand up and push forward. I have had financial setbacks. I have reached some unbelievable heights, and thank God um, that um, redemption exists because I can see the things that I've been fighting so hard for the last 10 years starting to materialize almost at warp speed. And that's what I try to tell people. Uh, we tend to dig and push, and then because it doesn't happen when we think, we give in and we succumb. One of the things that I've always said is that once I make up in my mind that I'm going to do something or that I'm going to have something, there are two options. I'm either going to get it or I'm gonna die trying. I don't quit. I don't have a plan B. And people say, well, why you don't have a plan B? I may have a plan B strategy, but I don't have a plan B goal. If I say this is what I'm going for, I'm going for it. Why? Because the moment when you create plan A is the optimal. This is the thing that is above and above. This is the best option and alternative. When you create plan B, it's a lesser alternative, meaning that it requires less sacrifice, less impact, less effort. So it's easier. So guess what happens when plan A gets hard? Everybody reverts to plan B. Why? Because the pressure of plan A becomes, but what happens when there is no plan B? You stay there, you fight. You stay there, you work. You get up when you get knocked down. You brush your shoulders off. You square your head up. And I can tell you that I've been through times. I've been through times that within the last 10 years, people are looking at me and saying, it sure is taking you a long time to recover and get back to where you were. But I was doing it differently. I was bypassing a lot of the shortcuts that I took the first time, because the first time all it was about was money. All it was about was winning. All it was about was getting to the top. This time it's about my legacy. And my legacy needs to have a certain level of integrity. I have a standard of integrity. And no, my standard isn't perfect, but I'm trying to get excellence. I'm trying to reach that. But what I can tell you is, I experienced setbacks. I experienced heartache. I experienced difficulties. I've gone through some things. This last year has been hell. But I tell you what, I'm still breathing. I tell you what, I'm still smiling. I tell you what, I'm still going. It is not because I have some blessed life that nobody else has. It's that I refuse to accept defeat. It's that I refuse to turn away from opportunity. It's that once I make up in my mind to get something, I've got one or two options. I'm gonna either get it or I'm gonna die trying. There are no other options. I'm not turning away. I'm not giving up. I'm not surrendering. I'm not gonna sit around, run around. Another thing you will not see me do is play the victim. Oh my God, look what happened to me. Look what they did. Look what this business did. This person's supposed to do that and they did this. Oh, look, they did this. No. The one thing that I have learned in planting my flag in the area of human behavior and deciding that's where I'm going to have my greatest impact. Not that I don't do other things, because I do. But one thing I learned is everybody's on a journey. Hello, Agent X. Everybody's on a journey. Everybody's somewhere. Everybody's going through something. Nobody gets through life unscathed. People are going through things, and sometimes you happen to be collateral damage as they're trying to figure things out. Sometimes you may not be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes you may be a trigger. Sometimes you may be doing things you don't even know you're doing. Sometimes what you've got to understand is, in the same way you need grace because you're not perfect, you got to extend it. So in saying that, I refuse to play the victim, because the victim says I got to find somebody to blame for why I feel the way I feel. And then I spend all my energy pointing at someone else and never working on me. So what I do is I look and say, man, that didn't feel good. How can I avoid that? How can I stop that? What can I do? How can I be better? And I move forward. That's in business. That's in parenting. That's in my marriage. That's in my friendships. I could sit up and look at every time somebody doesn't do what I want them to do and get all caught up in myself. And that's something I want to tell you. We've got to be careful of that, because we live in a world now that's pushing narcissism as the highest standard of existence. And they're pushing it in a subtle way of self-love. I have no problem with self-love. Love starts with you. But when you love yourself at a point where you're starting to push and nothing matters but what you want, nothing matters but how you feel, nothing matters but what you see, you think you need, and everybody else becomes simply a pathway to that. And then everybody's thinking that way. Nobody's looking for what they can give. Everybody's looking for what they can get and how they can get it. Everybody's looking for whatever. People are entering into business deals, not looking for what they can deliver, but how much they can cipher. People are entering into relationships, not looking at what we're bringing, but what we're going to get. And the moment you do that, you kill the dynamic of the relationship. The relationship is about bringing something. The relationship is, what am I going to bring? What am I going to give? But what happens is we get there and like, no. And then we get there and then we get overprotective. And then, no, I'm not going to do that. And then we start sabotaging. Then we start destroying. Then we do that. We do that with relationships. We do it with business opportunities. We do it in our own endeavors. We'll sabotage ourselves. I see it. I have to stop clients. Look, why do you keep doing that? Well, no, you keep doing that because if you actually don't do that, you will get what you say you want, and you're afraid you won't be able to keep it. You're afraid that you can't manage it, or even worse, you're afraid you don't deserve it. So what do? You keep tearing things down. You keep starting over. You keep saying it's not good enough. There is no such thing as perfection. I have not achieved what I've achieved. I have not written 24 books with 3 on the table now because I've rewritten I've rewritten my first book, The Invisible Father, Reversing the Curse of a Fatherless Generation. It's reloaded. That one's coming out this month. The Quest for Black Generational Wealth is coming out this month. And then I have a bombshell book that I'm just keeping on the wraps coming out at the end of this month or the first week in August. I didn't get that by sitting up being perfect. I didn't get that by having all the answers. I got that because I knew I wasn't perfect. I got it because I knew I needed to know. I got it because early in my life, my grandfather, who had a 2nd grade education and couldn't really read, told me, since I like to talk so much, for every word I spoke, I need to read 100. And so I did. I've read the entire encyclopedia before I was 10. See, what I've learned is, while your gift will make room for you, it's the energy, effort, and hard work you put into your craft that will establish you. That's at any sport. You will have the gifting that will open the door and it will make room, but you're going to have to put work in on the craft. I've started uh, uh, 47 official companies. I can't tell you how many things I set up and said, man, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make some money doing it, and set up a legitimate pathway. Never really truly made a company out of it, and did that. And it doesn't include all the little things I did up until I was an adult, like cut yards. I did that forever. My grandmother taught me how to sew on her sewing machine. I did everybody's straight legging back in the days, in the 80s, when that was a thing. I was a beast with the iron and the homemade starch. I did everybody's ironing. I did in college as well. I was always looking for a way to make money where I set the standard, where I was in control, where I could set my hours. And it was just a mindset. And what I can tell you is, I've had my ups and my downs. There's no pretty road to the top of the hill. There's no straight pathway to the top of the hill. What I can tell you is, there's all these difficulties. But let me tell you something. It's my imperfection that separates me. It's the uniqueness and my fallibilities, my humanity, that gives me a stage, because I don't look for people to be perfect. I don't expect anybody to be perfect, because every day I am utilizing the grace of God to operate and live my life. I'm not perfect. I haven't always made the best decisions. I still make mistakes, and I'm pretty sure I will continue to make mistakes. But I've learned that these mistakes don't doom me. These failures aren't indicative of my destiny. They are a reflection of my effort. And as long as I am striving to be the best that I can be, to do the best that I can, to love as hard as I can, to give as much of me as I can, to raise the standard. And this is the beautiful thing about it. Let me tell you something. You don't get what you want in this life. You get who you are and what you're willing to become. How do you become something that you are not, so that you can have the things you don't have? You have to raise the standard. You have to look at yourself and say, you're doing okay, but you're not doing enough. Do you know how hard that is? Nobody wants to look themselves in the mirror and say, you're not doing enough. Nobody wants to look themselves in the mirror and say, no, that's not their fault. You need to do more. You need to raise the standard. You need to show up earlier. You need to stay later. You need to be more attentive to detail. You need to pay attention. You need to talk softer. You need to listen more. All of these different things are commanding something. What is the standard for the day? Every day I sit down and I ask myself, what could I have done better yesterday? Literally, I have the questions written out in a performance journal. What could I have done better yesterday? What did I do well yesterday? How can I double down on what I did well while doing better the things that I didn't do as good as I should have? There's no point in any of my journals, and I have more than one, where I can sit up and say, man, I'm just that dude. I killed it. Ain't nobody can touch me. It's not that. Every day I wake up, and here's the beauty of it though. And there's no day in my life that I wake up and I'm competing against somebody else. There's no day in my life that I wake up and I'm measuring myself against another man. There's no day in my life that any other person except me is the catalyst. I compete against the person that I was yesterday. Today, I have to be better than that dude was yesterday. Rick yesterday cannot outperform Rick today. Rick yesterday could not have learned more than Rick today. Rick yesterday cannot have positively impacted more lives than Rick today. There are people that I hold dear to me, and I don't have a huge circle. Even though I have a pretty large family, I don't have a huge circle. And the few people who are privy to exactly where I'm at right now, emotionally, and they know what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through. Man, how are you doing, man? How are you waking up every day and going that way? The grace of God. And it's that same grace that I extend to anybody in my periphery. I'm not looking for perfect people. I'm looking for loving people. I'm looking for people who want to heal. I'm looking for people who want to grow. I'm looking for people who want to expand their impact and expand their territory. And my answer is every day that God wakes me up, I'm going to answer the bell. That's a promise I made to God a long time ago. Again, I was going through something. And that was a time that what I was going through was so horrible and the pressure was so huge that my biggest fear was that one day I was going to wake up and I was going to have lost my mind. That I was going to have waken up and I wouldn't know who I was. I would literally have lost it. And the biggest fear about that fear was I wouldn't even know that I lost it, because when people lose themselves mentally, they don't know they're lost, so they can't find their way back. And that was my biggest fear. So I went to God and I said, you built me for this. You made me strong enough for this moment. I don't even know how I'm coming out of it, but I don't want to die in it. So there are only two things one thing I'm going to ask you in two dynamics. Don't let me die in this. And all I meant by that is let me live long enough to show people I came out. I don't want this to be the end of the story. Don't let me die in this. And the second part of that same request was just wake me up. Just wake me up in the morning. I promise you, every day you wake me up, I'll answer the bell. Anybody that's known me, some of the things I've gone through, I've went through a point where I had a seizure so strong in 2016 that it ripped my shoulders out of the socket. I stood up in Starbucks and then fell over and broke the tip of the bone in my left shoulder, the tip of the ball joint of my humerus, broke the tip of it completely off, had nerve damage. Despite all the stuff that caused the seizure, I had all this physical trauma. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't bathe myself. And just the idea of having to ask my wife to dress me was horrible. But what people will tell you is the moment I was released from the hospital, I had nerve damage. I couldn't use this finger, and this one was barely, and this was barely, but the two right here. I type for a living. I'm a writer. I'm a researcher. My programs, I do it. I couldn't type with my left hand. But you know what happened the day after I got home? I couldn't even get dressed. I had to wake my wife up to put my shirt on. But guess where I was? I was in front of that computer trying to figure out how to work. I told God if he woke me up, I would answer the bell. There are some moments when I get up in the morning that if I didn't have a heart of gratitude, the darkness is just waiting to consume me. But the first thing I do when I open my eyes is I've gotten myself to a point now where it's just automatic. Thank you. You'll be surprised what gratitude will do to darkness, how it'll push it back, how it'll lighten the room, how it'll give you a tinge of hope. And anybody that understands hope is all you need is a little bit. It says faith is the substance of things hoped for. And then you set faith on fire. It's the evidence of things not seen. Set faith on fire. I haven't achieved the things that I've achieved. And there are some pretty exceptional things that are taking place in my business that I'm keeping close to the vest. That's something I had to learn. Not everybody is celebrating with you. There are some people out there literally praying for your demise, hoping that you fail. And there are people who have strong enough energy that if they know what you're doing, they'll interfere with it spiritually. And so some things you have to keep to the vest by the time they find out it's done. But trust me, God is moving in places. And he's rewarding my patience. He's rewarding my fortitude. He's rewarding my commitment. He's rewarding the fact that I'm learning to love at a level that I never thought possible. He's rewarding the fact that I'm learning how to operate through grace. I'm learning to meet people where they are. But what I'm going to tell you is this. The one thing that has gotten me to where I am now isn't because I live some kind of magical life that only a few people in this world get to live. I got here because simply I'm relentless. I refuse to quit. That was a point maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where I'm looking up and I'm going, why is it taking so long? Because it didn't take that long the first time. God said, you stacked it on a box of cards the last time. You threw it up. We building a foundation on which you can stand. We're building something that will ensure you will never end up back there again, flat on your back and looking up. No, we're building something here. And that is what got me is that, okay, I mean, why is it taking, what I can tell you, what I'm seeing now is, and this is what I can tell you. This is what I can tell you. Delay does not mean denial. I've said that so many times because I've experienced it, but I've never learned it in the way that I've learned it now. Delay does not mean denial. But because something is deferred does not mean it's denied. It simply means that there is more work to be done, that there is more preparation necessary. But what I can tell you is when you experience delay, when your breakthrough happens, it's worth the wait. You get more than what you were expecting. You start to see things unfold that you didn't even anticipate. I'm telling you that you have to have a commitment in this world that extends beyond what the average person expects or what you've got to have a level of expectation, a standard. God doesn't give you what you want. He meets you at the level of your expectations. The problem is most people are expecting so little. God meets you at your level of your expectations. God answers the standard of your faith. So I am not exempt from heartache. I am not exempt from struggle and difficulty. I am not exempt from poor decision making. I am not exempt from being fallible in my assessments. I am human like everybody else. I just invest myself at the most extreme level of understanding how I move, because I know people depend on me to move in a space. And anybody who has followed me for any time knows that when I realize that I have given something in error, I come back, I retract, I apologize, and I correct. I am not perfect, but I am committed. I am not perfect, but I am solidly fixed in in my path towards my destiny. I will not quit. I will not give up. There's something that I love. I haven't done it in a while, but back in the day, and before all this stuff came up with COVID and everything else, um, and I would go speak at a place that I had spoken before, and people who were there the last time I spoke, when I'm announced and I'm introduced and I'm walking up to the podium or the mic, people start hollering, "No surrender, no retreat. No surrender, no retreat." That tells me they heard what I said last time, because that's a mantra. I will not surrender to pain. I will not surrender to hardship. I will not surrender to difficulty, challenges, and struggle. I will not surrender to delay. I am going to push through, and I will not retreat in my path. I will press forward. And that's the thing. I'm relentless, not perfect. I'm relentless. I don't have all the answers. I just refuse to quit. And I'm challenging every last one of you to rise up and be the best that you can be, to live the best you can, to trust, to love, to forgive, to hold, to cherish, to honor the things that matter to you, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. You're living a life that you're going to have to be proud of when it's all over. That's what has to matter. On that note, look, I'm going to get out of here. I'm running late for a meeting. I'm gone over, but I tell you what, I really do appreciate it. I'm out of here. Don't forget, if you haven't enrolled in this week's Crushing Limiting Beliefs, you definitely want to be there. It's going to be something special. I'm going to bring my A game, and we are going to do some extraordinary things. If you want to be a part of that, the information is in the description box. If not, I lift you up. I hold you up. I keep you in my heart and my prayers. I ask you to do the same for me. Much love. You guys take care of yourself.